I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Tuesday morning.
And it's Colorado Gives Day. Yeah, we're going to get our charity on.
It's a big day today. We got friends
in
in the studio. Step Denver's joining us live in studio. We're going to be helping them raise support today. This is, in my mind, the best organization out there at doing what we want them to do, which is alleviate poverty. Right? This is not the Mike Johnston crazy government-run NGO where they can't account for a third of where the money's gone. Well, we don't know. It's no Minnesota welfare program where they lost $1 billion. This is actually solving homelessness and getting people into recovery, and it relies entirely on donations.
Yeah,
so
that
this
is
going to be a
wonderful.
great one.
They don't take any government federal funding because they want to be able to make their own rules and not have to be beholden to any sort of a federal program, because there is some tough love involved in this. This is something where you've got to break the cycle.
Personal responsibility?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to break the cycle of addiction. You've got to make sure that you're getting your life together, and you got to make sure that you're gainfully employed. And those things are tested on the regular. So that's part of what they're looking at, is that they wanted the program to be structured the way they want to, and the way it has worked since Bob Cote founded it. And it's different than many of the Housing First programs that address addiction and homelessness. They do not have a perfect record, but they do vastly better than so many other programs out there. They are proof positive that this can work, but they're going to be doing it their own way. And the only way it works is with your support. And that's why we're going to be asking throughout the morning for your help today.
We got a big goal.
Yes, we do.
How much are we looking to raise today, Mr. Thorpe?
Thousands of dollars. We want in the morning, we want to crest over 15,000. We're looking for more than 55,000 today for Step Denver.
$55,000 today.
Yep, which would be a record raised by KNUS. So that would be fantastic. Huge. So we would love to be able to do that today.
Amy has set the bar high for all of us.
Yeah. And I'm out of shape. I don't like high bars.
By the way, did you see that they've put chin-up bars in airports now?
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw Pete Hegseth, or you saw Sean Duffy?
Yeah, that's dumb. Yeah, the one people like,
Bill, why is getting in shape dumb?
It's not the getting in shape's dumb. It's the reason why. He's like, you know what we need when we're waiting and it'll make our air flight travel better? To get all sweaty. No. I've never been traveling and thought, you know what would help right now? A workout. There's not a single time in which I've been wandering through the airport and thought, where's the gym?
Think of what you can add to that long walk down Concourse A to the Frontier flights. Do you fly Frontier?
I fly whoever's cheapest at the time.
Yeah, so do I. Which is oftentimes Frontier, which is a 5-mile walk from where the tram drops you off. You got to go all the way down the Concourse A. Then you go down the stairs and you go even further into like Mordor in order to get to your gates. Now, in addition to the 5-mile walk at DIA, you can do some pull-ups. Bill, this is great.
This is dumb. I can't
make America fit again.
Where in the world were people saying, you know what would make air travel better? An exercise room. Who's that person? Where's that?
All right, we've got Step Denver coming up. This is, Bill and I disagree on lots of things.
Just about everything.
Not this.
Yeah, not at all.
We are both behind Step Denver, and that should tell you something.
Yeah,
Denver,
if the two of us can agree that this is a good program.
Time to get behind this great program.
Yeah, the two of us can support this thing, and the number of times you've heard us disagree. If we can agree that this program works and deserves our support, what does that tell you? I mean, we're behind this thing 100%.
It's a good one. All right, now is time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. It's Tuesday, 37, partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today on December 9th. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234. to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the National Weather Service has issued a high wind watch for areas west of Denver today, including Lakewood, Boulder, Golden, and Arvada. Forecasters say winds should be between 25 and 35 miles an hour with gusts of up to 60 miles an hour possible. So be careful, be aware of that today. The high wind watch will remain in effect until this evening. The Larimer County Coroner's Office has officially identified Kaylee Russell as the woman found dead last week in Weld County. The Coroner's Office announced on Monday that the 20-year-old Russell of Evans died from a combination of blunt force injuries and exposure to the cold. She was found in her overturned vehicle nearly 4 days after she was last seen by her father. CSP will be investigating all the circumstances, and the investigation continues into her death and the crash. Democrat Shannon Byrd is resigning from the state Senate so she can focus on her upcoming campaign for Congress in the 8th District, currently held by Republican Gabe Evans. Her last day in the state Senate will be January 5th, and Julie Gonzalez is challenging John Hickenlooper in June's Democratic primary. All right, the GOP senators have competing health care proposals.
On Capitol Hill, a Senate vote this week on whether to extend expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies, bringing the specter of soaring health insurance premiums for millions back to the forefront. Republicans pressing for reforms.
Some Republicans want a deal that would preserve the Non-Affordable Care Act subsidies, while others want the enhanced subsidies to expire. Senators Bernie Moreno of Ohio and Susan Collins of Maine have introduced the CARE Act that would create a 2-year extension of expiring ACA enhanced subsidies and allow reforms intended to appease conservatives. 47 is traveling to Pennsylvania today, kicking off his national tour, touting his economic agenda.
As voters signal they're not happy with the issues central to his election in a series of polls. Most recently, Gallup, showing just 36% of those surveyed satisfied with the president's handling of the economy. He argues he inherited a mess.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs will brief top congressional lawmakers behind closed doors today. The briefing to the so-called Gang of Eight comes after DJT's national security team put together a long-term strategy for protecting the country. They'll also talk about striking the drug boats in the Caribbean. Former Trump lawyer Elena Haba is resigning as the acting U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey. Her decision comes after a court ruled she was serving in the position illegally. 2026 Democratic U.S. Senate candidate for Texas, ladies and gentlemen, Jasmine Crockett.
It's going to be so fun.
I knew you would lie. I have a couple
it's going to be great down in Texas.
Yes.
We're going to have fun because it's not just her. There's this guy. He's some rando weirdo pastor named James Tallarico from Austin.
Right.
And he was doing this video about how terrible it is that the world has trillionaires. And so, this is going to they're going to race to the left. This is going to be beautiful to watch.
It is. So, and she was on a podcast, Jeff, called Getting Better. She's actually getting worse, if that's possible. What exactly is a criminal, Shanae?
I understood what was kind of pushing them there. And so I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different. Being a criminal is more so about your mindset. Committing a crime can come for a lot of different reasons.
Wow.
I feel like that's the definition of being a criminal.
Yeah, I think
crime,
that is
criminal.
Yes.
The words in both labels.
Insanity. All right. I've got some more stuff for you you're not going to like. I'm not going to do it this hour because it's just way too early in the morning.
Are we going? You going Tim Pool, Candace Owens stuff?
Yeah, I'm not talking about Tim Pool because, I'm not going to talk about it. Whatever. I mean,
It's getting spicy.
yeah, it is. Okay, I'll play this. Here we go. I know you. I mean, I totally agree with this. All right, so Candace Owens last night, there's like 5 things. All right, here we go. She played Charlie in one of his last events discussing the assassination of JFK.
In the JFK files, Mossad is mentioned. One of the reasons why Mossad is mentioned so much is that they're just a very good intelligence operation. It was not mentioned as if they were tied or that they knew about it or that they were involved. Again, I think the best reading of what happened there is who wanted JFK dead the most. Again, a lot of people said Israel wanted JFK dead. I'd love to hear that argument. But definitely Lyndon Baines Johnson and parts of our own government, and the Cubans wanted him dead. And who actually made it happen? There were like 15 or 20 things that happened that day that were inexcusable. They changed the parade route. He rode in an open-air convertible. LBJ decided not to ride alongside of him. The vehicle slowed down right when it went by the Texas School Book Depository. A lot there, right? And then, again, I think that all of us are smarter to believe that it was simply Lee Harvey Oswald. The more important question is not, oh, who did it? We have to first acknowledge it that more than one person did it. Once we acknowledge that more than one person did it, then we can expose our government to have lied to us about the JFK assassination, which then I think will sober a lot of us about trusting the government in the future.
Yes. And then, so real quickly, Candace goes on, but I'll give you a little bit here.
And in the political fast lane, they want you dead for really one or all of these 3 reasons: money, secrets, and or power. We know that Charlie said no to money right before he died. I think that means he probably knew a secret right before he died. And there is no doubt that his youth political organization had achieved a considerable amount of political power. Could there have been global implications? Of course.
Yep. So I believe it. I'm right there with her. Just keep on asking the questions. Love it. Avs at the Predators tonight. Nugs at the Kings on Thursday. Chargers beat the Eagles last night, 22-19 in overtime. The Colts are bringing back 44-year-old Phillip Rivers for a workout today as Indiana Jones out for the season. Well, that's sad news for the Colts. Rivers actually is a grandfather and can barely move in the pocket, but I'm rooting for him. So they'll give him a workout today. Phillip Rivers. 33 in Arvada, 35 in Parker, 37 in Denver. And you're waking up with Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area calls for breezy to strong winds throughout the metro area with high winds to the west in the foothills and mountains, gusts 60 plus for these areas with gusts of 25 to 35 elsewhere in the metro area. We'll see temperatures overnight tonight, low 30s, highs this Tuesday and tomorrow near 60. Nighttime lows well above average, 30s to near 40, and there'll be a touch of maybe a little high country snow shower activity the next few days, otherwise dry. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Today's a big day. It's a special show for us. While Bill and I disagree on just about everything, including the color of the sky sometimes. Today, though, we are united together, right, left, center, all together on Denver's Top Talk radio show in support of our friends with Step Denver. Now, I've gotten to know Step Denver years ago, and the reason we love and support them is it works, right? So many times you're frustrated that these programs that are put together typically by the government doesn't actually solve the problem they seek to do. And in this case, what we've seen from Step Denver year after year is success with getting men out of addiction, out of homelessness, and lives are improving. Joining us live in studios, Amy, the Mission Advancement Officer for Step Denver. Today's a big day because it's Colorado Gives Day, right?
Yes, good morning, and thank you so much for having us. And I first want to just give a shout out to all of your listeners, because every year when we do this, they start the day out with a bang. And this year we have a match for $55,000.
Wow.
So it's very exciting.
That's big.
It's over double from last year. And so, you know, this is our largest fundraising day of the year to help these men be able to overcome addiction and completely change their lives.
It's a big one. Now, let's get back into the history, and then we're going to talk with Donnie here, who's through the program. But Step Denver, founded by Bob Cote. How long has it been around? How many men has it served? That type of thing.
Absolutely. Thousands and thousands of men. Last year we served 382 men. And yeah, we actually just learned, I would love to tell this story. We learned the history in the last about 6 months from one of the founding board chairs. His name is Tyler Norris, and he's still a donor to this day.
Yeah.
And he actually met a man named Ray Hayworth, who's actually the founder of Step.
Oh,
and,
Ray.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I know. We found this whole story out too. And Tyler had actually been in and out of incarceration all of his teen years, and ended up one day, finally got, his life together. He was 22 years old, and he was sitting on the couch, and he said it felt as if somebody pulled him up off of the couch by the sweatshirt and said, "You need to go down to Skid Row." And so he went down to Skid Row, and he was walking around, and he ran into Ray, and Ray he had this little shack room on the side of a bar, which is now a parking lot off of 21st and Larimer. Excuse me, but he actually had this room with cots in it and said, any man that wants to be sober has a safe place to stay. And so that's how Step started. Wow. Well, Tyler met Ray and ended up, he's like, I want to be involved. So he got involved, and Bob was one of the first residents.
Bob Cote was a resident.
Bob was one of the very first
I didn't
residents.
know this.
Yes. And so when they were in the room attached to the bar, Bob, being the visionary that he was, looked across the street and said, "You need to go get that building over there, the building that we're in now." And so they said, okay. And so Tyler went over there with Catherine, who was the executive director at the time, and they shared this big vision, and they walked away with a 10-year lease for $1 a year. And so it's funny, in Tyler's words, they walked back across the street and they panicked. And they said, "We have no idea what we're doing here." And they said, "We don't even have a plumber." And a guy who was one of the guys sleeping on a cot said, "Well, I'm a plumber." And another guy said, "Well, I'm an electrician." And everybody kind of started chipping in on what they could do.
I love that.
And one of the guys was like, well, I don't have anything to offer. I'm useless, worthless, all of the things. And Tyler said, "Well, surely there's somebody that loves you. What can they do?" And he said, "Well, I do have a really good relationship with my uncle." And his uncle owned Sutherland Lumber. And so Sutherland Lumber donated all of the lumber for the project, toilets, all of the things. And so what is at Step Denver today, right now, was all built out by men who were sleeping on cots across the street. So that is, to me, the most
I love
powerful
that.
story.
Wow.
We share that with the men now because, you know, the men who were sleeping on cots 42 years ago are still there in this building today. So it's very, very special. And I'm so happy I was able to share that story this morning.
That's wonderful. I love that history. And it's made such a big difference in men's lives since then. It's humble beginnings, like you just talked about, has gone on to have tremendous fruit. And it's why we support them here at 710 KNUS. My family personally supports Step Denver. They deliver results for men facing homelessness, drug addiction. This is not one of those programs. I think a lot of people are getting frustrated with the amount of money going into programs where you don't see results, and you're just wondering, it feels like a waste, because it is. And in this case, with Step Denver, they're getting results because it requires personal responsibility on the side of the men. We're going to talk with one of them now. Joining us live in studio, Donnie. Good morning, Donnie.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for having me, and I just
Glad
surprised to be here.
But tell us your story. Where are you from? What have you been up to? How'd you get connected to Step Denver?
Yeah, Donnie, start at the beginning, man. Talk about where you were, where you grew up, what was the lifestyle like, and then where things started to get a little bit off track. So let's take us back to the beginning. What was little Donnie like as a kid, and where'd you grow up, my man?
Yeah, little Donnie in Denver, man.
Nice. What side of city? What side of city, man?
I was born and raised in Denver. You know, I was raised up in Southside Denver, like right off of kind of like the Evans and Tejon area.
Oh,
I lived in Section 8 my entire life. So I was raised in poverty. You know what I mean? I didn't have the structure that I needed because, you know, my parents were both addicts too. You know, and basically I was allowed to do whatever I wanted at a point. You know, at a certain age, you know, my parents were just like, he's gonna learn the hard way. You know what I mean?
Ooh. Now, Donnie, talk about, like, growing up. What does it mean when you say both your parents are addicts? Can you tell the audience, one, what was their vice? What were the things they were doing?
Yeah.
And what did that do to impact you? And I'm real curious about what you saw as a kid. What was that exposure like as far as a child? What were you learning directly from them based on addiction? I mean, obviously they were setting up the stage and saying these are the steps you take in order to do this, and you get hooked. But what were their drugs? What were their addictions? And what was your perception of that as a kid?
So my mom and dad, my mom was more addicted to, you know, pills and, you know, the powder form of certain aspects of certain things, you know what I mean? And my dad was an alcoholic, and he was also a drug addict too. So growing up and living around that, it just made me kind of feel like it was acceptable, you know, because that's just how I was raised. I was raised around a whole bunch of drug addicts, alcoholics, gangbangers, drug dealers, you name it. I was around them my entire life, and it was just normal. Like, that was just a normal thing for me. And being around that all the time, especially going home, it felt accepted. You know, that was the one thing. And, you know, my parents would always tell me, like, stay away from this, don't do this, don't do this. My dad used to always tell me, he used to tell me all the time, addiction runs in our blood, so be careful in what you do. And I'd never really listened. You know, I would never really listen to him, and because I just felt like, if you're doing it, I should be okay. You know,
if you're normal for you at that time,
yeah.
Man. It's what you see is normal, so there wouldn't be any reason. It is your only experience in life so far, so there's no reason to think that it would be or even could be any different than this.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just how they ran. You know, my dad was a functional alcoholic, so he went through college. He was a chef for a while, you know, and he was doing pretty good for the most part, you know what I mean, until he wasn't, you know. And that's when our relationship was always kind of on the rocks, me and my dad, and we never really clicked as a father-son relationship. You know, I love him to death, like, don't get me wrong on that. It was more like we had our differences, just like every parent did, every parent and child relationship did, but our differences were a lot bigger. Our ideas were different. The way that we did things were different. I wasn't a sporty kid, and he wanted me to be a sporty kid. I was more of an academic kid, You know what I mean? I was a nerd. I like to play video games. I like to study. I like to read books. You know, that was how I passed the time as a child.
Now,
you know?
Donnie, what was the first time that you experimented with drugs or alcohol, and then what was it? So I'm real curious because it's that first blush that, you know, you're breaking the seal. What was the first thing you chose, and what were you doing at the time?
You see, with me, it was alcohol and marijuana. That was the big thing. Like I started.
Probably easiest to get at that time too.
It was simple.
Yeah.
It was simple. Like it was so easy. And where we lived, it was just like I could pay another homeless person to pick it up for me, and then they would, you know, it was just that simple.
Now, did you go beer? Or did you go hard liquor?
Hard liquor.
Ooh, now,
Hard liquor,
okay,
right
now
away.
this is a personal question for you, and this is something because of people that I've friends of mine that dealing with alcohol addiction, especially. Did you choose the liquor your dad chose, or did you do something different?
I just did something different.
Okay.
You know, my dad was a vodka drinker.
Yeah.
I was a whiskey drinker.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, you went big. Oh
yeah,
man, okay,
yeah.
okay.
It was. I was always the, you know, go big or go home type of person. You challenge me, I'm gonna do it, and I took that as a challenge. Like, you know what? You say it runs in the family. I'm gonna drink whiskey, and I'll prove you wrong that I'm above this.
How old were you when you started?
I was 13. I came home. I was at a Boys and Girls Club when I first drank, and that's actually a really funny story. So I was at a Boys and Girls Club with a couple of my friends, and one of my friends came up and he was like, "Hey, Donnie, I got this bottle of alcohol." He didn't tell me what it was. He just told me it was alcohol, and he was like, "Yeah, we're all gonna get drunk in the locker room and this and that." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like, let's do this." I got so drunk that day and so belligerent. My mom was really scared that I was going to die of alcohol poisoning because of how bad I got. Like, I wasn't able to stand up straight. I was
That was the
throwing
first
up.
time?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a sip. You just
No.
jumped right in.
Yeah, it was. I went in the bathroom, and you know, because the bathroom and the locker room were attached, and I went in the bathroom. I went in the stall, and I literally just chugged it. And it wasn't a matter of shots, nothing like that. I wasn't that kind of kid. I wasn't the one that was just like, yeah, you need a chaser. Like, no, I just went straight for it. And right after that, I just remember falling on the floor. I blacked out. Apparently my friend almost lit me on fire. Like, it was pretty crazy.
Wow. Now, what was your reaction coming out of that? I'm wanting to say for you, like, did you say, okay, now I get it, that's what I've been looking for? Was it something like that was bad? And then also, what was the reaction of your parents? Because at 13, they're fighting addiction, and they're seeing you take the first step. So how did they react? But more importantly, first, what did you feel like the next day? What was your reaction to it the next day, and what was your peer group reaction?
The next day, I felt fine. You know, I can't say I wasn't hungover, but it was a sickness.
Okay. Now,
Like, that's all it was for me.
I want to stop you just there for a second, because this is one of the things that I think that biologically is absolutely atrocious, is that anybody that has been drinking understands that when you're younger, the hangovers roll off of you. And so it gives you this sense of immunity. It gives you this sense of a superpower that you've seen the older people around you suffer with these hangovers, but somehow you are different. It tells you you have a lack of wisdom at that time, but because you're not experiencing the same downs that the older people do around you, you feel that you've got a better handle on it. If I think that if people that were 13, 14, 15, 16 would get the hangovers people do in their late 50s, they would never drink again. But that's the curse of biology. And so you come out of this thinking, well, I've seen Dad have rough mornings and I feel great. I can do this better than he is. That's what you've just taught yourself, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Like, I woke up tired.
Yeah.
That was it. Like, I just woke up tired. I felt fine. I went to school the next day. I'm pretty sure I was smelling like liquor. And you know, my parents told the teachers, like, he's probably hungover, so just be loud. And that's what they did. You know, like, my teachers were being loud, and it was. I felt fine. Like, I didn't care for it.
How did your parents deal with it? Because they're seeing you take the first step. You've now broken the seal on it, and your dad's been warning you, stay away from the addiction cycle. But now he sees you take that first step. How does he react? How does Mom react?
My mom was upset. She was more mad at me than my dad was. My dad was more worried. My dad was scared. He kind of saw like a certain I don't know how to describe it. Like he looked at me differently that day. He just noticed like, okay, this is either gonna go one of two ways. He's either not gonna want to drink again, or he's gonna be my new drinking buddy, because we live together in a better, safer environment. At that time was, if you're gonna drink, you're gonna drink at the house. You know what I mean? And that way I can keep an eye on you and make sure you're okay.
Yeah, it's a rationalization you have a lot of times with alcoholics. So
was it okay?
By any means. Was it okay for you to then, after the age of 13, in and around your parents, especially dad, was it okay for you to drink? Was it accepted?
No.
There we go. Okay.
No.
I was curious.
No, that didn't happen until a little earlier in my teen years.
Yeah. Now, when was the next time? So at 13, you did it at the Boys and Girls Club in the locker room. When's the next time? Did you wait a week? Did you wait a month? Did you wait 6 months? Or did you get right back on that horse?
Honestly, I would say about a month or two.
Okay.
Maybe. Like, I mean, that's a long time to think. Like, it could have easily been a month. It could have easily been a week. It could have been it could have been a lot sooner, because my older brother didn't really live with us. Like, he lived with us, but he wasn't really there all the time. You know what I mean? Because we grew up in a 3-bedroom Section 8 house. You know what I mean? There was my dad had 4 kids. My mom technically 4 kids. And my mom with my dad only had me and my little brother. So they lived with my grandparents for a little bit. And every once in a while, I would go hang out with him and go drink with my older brother. Ooh. But that kind of stuff didn't really happen until around 15, 16 years old. And that's when, my dad just kind of realized, like, okay, he's going to start doing his own thing. Like,
now, we're going to step aside here in just a sec, Donnie, and I want to ask you a question.
Cool.
Once you took that first drink of whiskey in the locker room with the Boys and Girls Club, did it provide any answers for you? And what I mean by that is, did it fill some sort of a hole in your life, or did it provide that answer of, oh, now I get it why mom and dad are chasing this. I get it why dad comes home and has that drink, that this is the answer. We're not really sure what the question is, but did that whiskey feel like any sort of an answer for you?
It gave me a really big euphoric feeling. It kind of provided a numbness. Like, I wasn't depressed as often. I felt like it was fun. I felt like it was really acceptable to get drunk and then talk about your feelings instead of talking about your feelings first, because that was kind of frowned upon in those early ages. Like, I grew up in an environment where men don't cry, or we don't talk about our problems. We don't do that. The only time it was accepted is if you got drunk and it's just, okay, you got a lot on your mind. You know what I mean? But I never really talked about problems or anything like that. So being drunk and actually being able to do it, it provided a lot of unspoken answers to a lot of different problems.
Because you talk about alcohol and drugs breaking down certain barriers and social barriers and other things, it being the social lubricant, but in your case it broke down barriers internally, stuff that were emotional walls that you would put up, and it was allowing you to deal with some of those raw emotions in a way that you weren't letting yourself. So it was an answer, so I can see why it would pull you, but talk about a real dangerous answer to start dancing with.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That was bad.
That's Donnie. We're going to have to step aside here. Man, Jeff, I'm speeding this up. Yeah. I want to make sure that everybody jumps on to coloradogives.org/stepdenver, coloradogives.org. Donnie is out of the throes of alcohol and getting back to being a productive member of society. We're going to walk through that journey as well. But you can help many men like Donnie make the same journey by donating today. coloradogives.org/stepdenver, coloradogives.org/stepdenvers. We've got a matching goal of $55,000 today. That means every dollar you give instantly becomes $2. You give 10, it becomes 20. You give 100, it becomes 200. Yeah, the math is really easy. That's why I did it that way, because I can't do math. 382 men went through the program last year. Let's make sure that it's more. $55,000 is our goal today. Let's see if we can crush that.
We'll continue the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's a very special live broadcast. It's Colorado Gives Day, and we as a station, we personally as well, supporting Step Denver. This has been an ongoing relationship because at the end of the day, Step Denver works. It's actually getting people out of homelessness, out of drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and we love them because we're seeing lives changed. This is not one of those. I get the frustration out there among a lot of folks watching money go towards homeless programs that never actually seem to solve homelessness. That's not the case with Step Denver. Their money is making an impact, and live in studio are people that are free of some of that addiction and telling and sharing their stories with us. Donnie, live in studio, we were just hearing about how he got pulled into it. Started with drinking whiskey in the bathroom of the Boys and Girls Club, and then, but really the root of that was family addiction that opened that door for you. You stepped into that at 13, and then you and I were talking off air. It got worse and worse with some of the jobs that you had, the travel.
Yeah.
You were doing pipeline work,
Yeah.
and that just meant that you were out in the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then work's done. So what are you going to do? You're going to start drinking? That's kind of sounds like that's what happened. Tell us what happened.
Journey.
What happened next in your life? You're 13 years old. You're starting to drink. Then you join your brother and your dad, and it gets worse. Give us your journey.
Yeah, so a little bit after, all of that kind of stuff, I started going from high school to high school. I kept getting kicked out. I kept leaving. I dropped out twice. You know what I mean? And around the time where I met my wife, me and her were high school sweethearts. This was where it kind of started to pick up to where I was doing harder drugs. I met a buddy of mine, and he used to always do Xanax. And one day, I was just like, you know what, this isn't working. And I would always go to school with a bottle of Jaeger in my backpack, and he was just like, here, try this, bro. This might relax you. And I was like, all right, fine. And he was like, well, let's do this. We're going to crush it up, and then we're going to snort it. I was like, cool. Like, that sounds pretty pleasant to me. And sure enough, that was around the time where my addiction started to develop to harder drugs, a bigger euphoria. And I kept doing it. That was, at that time, that was my drug of choice. And a little bit after I met my wife was around the time I started doing a lot of cocaine. Around 22, 23 was where it started to get really bad. Like, I did it before in high school, but it wasn't for me. And then I realized that if I mix this, I don't feel as drunk, so I could drink longer. And I just continued to do that. And it was getting to a point to where I just couldn't stop doing it. And it was really starting to progress more towards cocaine and alcohol than it was towards Xanax. Granted, that was still my drug of choice at that time, was Xanax or anything that was a downer. It was starting to get really, really bad when I got into pipeline. Because of the fact that I didn't like to be away from my family. Like, I just had a baby, my son he's only 4 years old, and we traveled a lot. And mentally, the way that I was feeling at that time was just feeling alone. Even though I was married, I had a kid, I had a wife, I had people that I can go to, but I still had this void. Like, I'm alone, and I don't like that feeling. So when I would go to pipeline, we were going out during COVID, and we would travel during COVID, and we would be in our rooms by ourselves, and I'm bored. So the next step is I'm gonna go downstairs to the bar and I'm gonna start drinking, and in pipeline I'm making a decent amount of money to where I can do that every day down on there. Like, it doesn't matter. It was a little harder to get the drugs, but I'm still gonna be able to drink because I have that money and I have that fallback, because I was making pretty close. I wouldn't say pretty close. I was making about $70,000-$80,000 a year, so it was a pretty decent amount of money. You know what I mean? And it really started to progress at that time, and it never really stopped. Like, I never slowed down. It just got worse and worse and worse, and it just kept building.
We're talking with Donnie. Donnie has been a success story out of Step Denver, and why we love Step Denver is that he's one of many success stories because they require personal responsibility. They've got a great program, and today's Colorado Gives Day, we're looking to raise $55,000. This would be a record in support of the great work that they're doing at Step Denver. We're going to get to Donnie's recovery story in a second, but Amy, big day for you guys today. This is, in fact, the biggest day, right, for fundraising?
Yes, this is the single largest fundraising day of the year for Step Denver. It actually ends up carrying through about 6 months what we can bring in today. So it is incredibly important. So far, just from being on air, we've raised $2,250. Awesome. So that is a huge deal. Thank you so much to all the listeners. One thing I did want to mention, especially when Donnie starts talking about the recovery part and about STEP, is there are quite a few differences about STEP. One of them, obviously, when it comes to money, is we don't take any government funding, and that is why we rely so heavily on philanthropy and the people that are listening, is because we cannot do this work without you. We cannot do it. And so that's why today is so important. But another huge difference about Step Denver is that there's no cost to enter, right? And we don't bill Medicaid, we don't bill insurance. We're not like other treatment programs. And, you know, you have to be ready and willing to come in. We do same-day intake, so when somebody is ready and willing, we know that the window is very, very narrow, that they are going to stay ready and willing. And so we have to act quickly. So every day we take applications Monday through Friday from 7 till noon, and then for same-day intake at 2:30. And so when the guys come in, they have to be clean and sober. We don't do detox. We're not a clinical facility. We are a peer recovery program. And so that is the other thing. When any guy that comes in, they are assigned a recovery support manager, which Donnie, I'm sure you'll talk about. And that recovery support manager has been through the program themselves. So they are working one-on-one with this guy through the entire program, and they have been through it themselves. So there's not one thing that guy's going to go through that their coach, their peer coach, has not been through himself. And our guys are required to get a full-time tax-paying job while they're in our program. Other treatment centers, not that they don't work, I am not saying that at all, but you live in this recovery bubble where you're most times in a lockdown facility where you're getting tons of therapy, but you're not actually out in the world rebuilding your life in real time. And that is what is happening at Step Denver. And that is one thing that we hear from a lot of the guys, is both the accountability piece and the fact that they get to work and make money and be able to take care of their families while they're in the program. And so I just wanted to mention that, because those two things are
It's a big deal.
Different.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
today's a big day as well. ColoradoGives.org/Step Denver. You can donate there. We, as a family, support Step Denver. We're making a donation today of $500 from our family to support them. I hope you'll join us. Go to ColoradoGives.org/Step Denver. And we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, CAN-US.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're having a lot of fun with raising money for Step Denver, but of course we need to put our guests through the ringer here with a little You Choose the News, Bill.
It's the funny time, yes. It is time for America's favorite fake radio news game show. You Choose the News. You know how this works. I scour the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans, which is remarkably easy. Then I give them even more ridiculous headlines so we can play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because those in charge are not aware of this happening at 6:50 in the morning on KNUS. So when left unsupervised, Jeff and I are going to take full opportunity to do what we can. As always, Blake is joining us from the news department. Gentlemen, here are the headlines this morning, and Donnie is going to be choosing our third story. Be careful. Headline number 1, we're talking to you. Headline number 2, artificial fix. Headline number 3, dealing with drought. And headline number 4, blown away. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Let's deal with some drought.
Yeah, dealing with drought. Statistically, this country has a full-blown drought. A man drought, that is. 15% more women than men, a gap that is more than 3 times the average across the European Union. Among seniors, the divide is even more dramatic. We are talking about Latvia, the Baltic nation known for its pine forest, folk songs, medieval charms, and not a lot of men. Researchers say there's no mystery behind the imbalance. Latvian men don't live as long because they smoke far more frequently than women and drink more, and they just have a really bad lifestyle. They also say, hey, what's this? And then they jump there, and then things die. So anyway, across Latvia now, people are offering services as husbands for an hour. No, this isn't that one thing you're thinking about. This is where you can pay a dude to come over to your house and fix things. Paint things, move things. You want to rearrange your living room? Hire the husband for an hour. You need that light switch fixed? Hire the husband for an hour. It's now a booming business across Latvia. And no funny business involved. Yeah,
no funny right,
okay.
Sure.
I know. When you're hiring them by the hour, that's a question. Alrighty, Blake, your choice, sir. We're talking to you. Artificial fix, you're blown away.
Artificial fix.
Artificial fix. Communications between Earth and NASA spacecrafts were critically vulnerable to hacking for years until AI found the vulnerability just a few days ago and fixed it. Yes, it took AI 4 days to find something the science geeks couldn't find for years. A cybersecurity algorithm found out that there was a vulnerability where hackers could have seized control of countless space missions, including NASA's Mars rover. But they've closed the hole now.
Good job, AI.
I know. Now, Donnie, here's your choice, sir. We're talking to you or blown away. Oh, what's it?
Say it again.
Say it again, sorry.
I'm have to go blown away.
All right, blown away. After a brief manhunt, a 57-year-old man was arrested in Canada, America's hat, because this past weekend he assaulted someone. Investigation revealed that he accosted someone after getting into an argument with him, and then he blew snow at them. He used a snowblower to attack him, so he was arrested. Assault by snowblower.
All right.
Only in Canada.
We will continue a special Colorado Gives Day. Step Denver live in studio. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
KNUS.